we have officially reached the finish line for the college football regular season. It is time to focus on these two playoff matches. Now, the first one we're going to do is Alabama versus Washington. And let me be clear on this one really quickly. This is not a prediction. This is just a preview and some keys to the game for each of these two teams. We're going to do the Clemson-Ohio State one in just a little bit after this one. So Clemson fans and Ohio State fans, yours is coming up in a little bit. But we got to focus on Alabama versus Washington. Now, most of you think that Alabama is just going to roll right through this game. It's going to be like 56-7, 42-0, 38-7. Just a one-sided game. However, I have keys that Washington can follow to keep them in the game. Let's get to Alabama's keys first. This first one is huge. They've been doing this all year long. They've excelled at it. It's forcing turnovers. Alabama's defense just feasts off the turnovers. If you turn the football over against this Alabama defense, they'll make you pay for it. Either they will score a non-offensive touchdown, or they will give their offense a short field. I believe I think we're at 13 straight games now where Alabama's defense has scored a non-offensive touchdown. Whether if it's on special teams or defense. Alright, your second key is the ground attack. And you've got several great running backs to worry about. You've got Bro Scarborough, for example. However, you also have a wide receiver to worry about at running back with jet sweeps, a Darius Stewart. And here's one that's kind of key. We should have gone over this one first, and I apologize for that, but you got to stay focused. You can't be distracted with what's been happening lately inside the news for Alabama, such as 3 of their quarterbacks are deciding to transfer. Blake Barnett decided to transfer earlier in the year. Cooper Bateman decided to transfer last week. And now David Cornell. He's deciding to transfer. And also, this is kind of big, but it was rumored that Lane Kiffin is going to take the Houston coaching job. So you got to stay focused, not let that distract you, especially Alabama's offense. You got to just focus. You got to have the act like you've been there before mentality, which most of these guys were here last year. Like Calvin Ridley was there, O.J. Howard, Darius Stewart was there, Jonathan Allen was there. Just got to stay focused. You just got to focus on beating Washington, getting to the national championship game. All right, now key for Jalen Hurts is to target his big receivers of Calvin Ridley or Darius Stewart and O.J. Howard at tight end. And their defense also has to force long downs. Like get into a second and long, a third and long. Because Washington is great at converting third downs. They're good at getting offensive yardage. But against Alabama's defense, it's going to be really difficult. And if Alabama's defense gets to make it difficult for Jake Brown and that Washington offense to gain some serious yardage on second and long or third and long, it's going to be a really long afternoon for that Washington offense. And here's one. Here's their final key for Alabama. Don't get so much penalties. I mean, we saw them get some significant penalties against Ole Miss, against Florida early on in the game. And it kind of set them back a little bit, but they came back to win the games. But you can't give Washington's defense any hope at stopping you if you get so much penalties. You got to make it really difficult to get the Washington defense off the field. And if Alabama can take advantage of not getting so many penalties, like no many unnecessary false starts or holding penalties or chop blocks, anything like that, keep Washington's defense off the field. Once again, that'll also make it a long day for the whole Washington team. Right, and keys for Washington. You got to throw up the 50-50 ball. I would say you got to get about at least 8 to 12 of those in there. And you don't have to complete all of them. Even if you have to throw it away, just throw it away. At least got to go for it. You got John Ross, who's going to be undoubtedly a first-round draft pick in this upcoming draft. And also, you got to go after I'd say you got to go after Humphreys. And he's only played safety for about 4 games. And he's replacing Eddie Jackson, who's out for the year with a knee injury. But you got to just take a shot against the Alabama secondary. Maybe on the first play, just go deep and test them out. Right, this is a big one. Dominate the time of possession. Or dominate the TOP. You can run the no-huddle offense if you want. But this would be a huge way to get Alabama's defense exhausted. Because you know you can't run on the Alabama defense. Maybe throw some short pass. Maybe throw it about 3 yards down the field. Because every yard counts against this Alabama defense. We've seen it all year long where teams had to get every single yard that they can. But if you can eventually start throwing the ball on this defense, or how about this? How about you run a play, but you run the no-huddle offense. You got 40 seconds on the play clock. Use every single second of those 40 seconds that you possibly can. Like, don't substitute anybody out, because if you substitute anybody out, Alabama has a fighting chance to substitute somebody else. As history would say, Alabama is not the best team at stopping the no-huddle offense. We saw Cam Newton just pulverize Alabama's defense in the second half in 2010. Johnny Manziel pulverizing the Alabama defense in 2012 no-huddle offense. Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl a couple years ago. That is Alabama's kryptonite, is the no-huddle offense. So if you can keep Alabama's defense on the field, and keep Jalen Hurts off of it, you got a chance. And this is a huge one for Washington's defense. Force Jalen Hurts into mistakes. We have yet to see Jalen Hurts play like a true freshman. But in a game like this, with all of its caliber, a spot to play for the national championship, it could be possible to force Jalen Hurts into mistakes. We saw Jameis Winston do that in the national title game a couple years ago against Auburn. In the first half, he looked sluggish. But if Washington's defense could make Jalen Hurts look like a redshirt freshman, or a true freshman, you got a shot. And you got to get early momentum in this ball game. We saw Florida get early momentum in the SC title game. But it didn't work out because on the next play, interception, you had 2 interceptions in the first quarter by Alabama's defense. And that's what really put the nail in the coffin early on. Which kind of leads in the next key. Mistake-free football. Kind of like getting early momentum. We've seen all year long that Alabama starts off a little bit slow. They don't necessarily score in the first quarter. We've even seen them blowout victories, like the 52-6 blowout victory against USC. Alabama did not score until the midway point of the second quarter in that game. But USC couldn't score the touchdowns in the first quarter to set the momentum. Which kind of leads into mistake-free football. As I've said all year long, Jake Browning is probably the most underrated quarterback in all of college football. And if he's mistake-free, you got a shot. Because if you want to beat Alabama, you got to win the turnover battle. You've got to force them into making mistakes. And you can't turn the ball over yourself. I would say you can have at least maybe 1 turnover against Alabama. If you have 2 or more, it's going to be really difficult for you to win this ball game. And your last key, this is a big one. Account for Darius Stewart. We've seen in the games that Alabama has gotten off to a slow start. We've seen those type of games. But what really set the tone for Alabama, got their momentum going, was a big play to Darius Stewart. Whether it was a jet sweep or a deep ball to Darius Stewart, or a long touchdown. So Washington's got to account for Darius Stewart because he's the big X factor in this matchup. And he's a momentum changer. So if you can keep account for Darius Stewart the entire ball game, you have a chance. So once again, this is not a prediction. This is just a preview and the keys for the ball game. Like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends, family. Share this on social media. I will be back in a little bit with the Clemson Ohio State preview. I will see you then.